Okay, so as I'm sure a lot of you guys will know by now, I like to take a different perspective to the social norms um, that life brings, basically. And today is going to be one that I have had in mind for a number of years, but I've not really shared it. I have seen stuff on social media regarding it, but I've not really shared my perspective on it. And that is actually security. Trading security versus job security, and which one brings more security for yourself, for your family, for your closest friends, etc. So, going straight into it, let's actually deep dive into what consists of security in a 9 to 5 job and what consists of security in a trading environment, and we'll go from there.
Funding meant for traders. Ment Funding.
Okay, so as you can see, I've already highlighted a few key elements of security that a 9 to 5 job offers. First one can be stable or consistent income. Now, I've put question marks at the end of them because they're not always guaranteed. Like you could say, yes, a 9 to 5 does bring you stable and consistent income, but is that guaranteed forever? Well, that's why I added the question mark. A set amount of hours per week. Most jobs that are not jobs that require qualifications, for example, usually come with stuff like 0 hour contracts, where you don't actually get contracted to work a set amount of hours per week, you just get given those hours. So, does that mean you have guarantees for the same hours every week? Well, maybe and maybe not. So, again, there's already a lack of that security, there's a lack of that. There's a lack of that clarity as well for the employee. Annual leave and paid time off. Again, I added a question mark because not all jobs even offer paid time off and not all jobs offer annual leave. And sick leave, no one can determine when someone is going to need time off for a sickness related situation or an injury or anything like that. So again, I put a question mark at the end of it. So now that I've kind of explained, well, this is what jobs advertise, like I could easily change these to explanation marks, a stable and consistent income, a set amount of hours per week, annual leave, paid time off, and sick leave. Perfect. I can now change those into explanation marks, and those suddenly become pull factors for someone to start working for a company. However, that's the only security that a 9 to 5 job can offer for some people. But for most people, it looks a bit like this, okay? And you might be wondering, well, where am I going with this? And what I kind of want to get at here is that there is no security in this for most jobs, and there is a lot more security when it comes to trading. And I'll explain why, because you might think, well, how can there be security when trading is, you know, 95% of people lose in trading? Well, I'll tell you why in a second. So I've also given a bit of an example here as well. So for someone who has an income of $3,000 per month, rent is $1,000, bills 300, car 300, groceries 300, and other stuff 100. That's a total of, someone can't count. That's a total of 2,000. Oh my gosh, there we go. Total of $2,000 per month. And that leaves the person with savings of $1,000 per month, which over a 12-month period is $12,000, which is fantastic. But let's actually think of that number now. So let's say I've saved $12,000 for my 1 year in working, and then all of a sudden I've lost my job. The company that I've worked for has gone bankrupt. I don't work for that company anymore. I've lost the job altogether. I have now got $12,000 in savings. This income has disappeared, but these costs stay the same. So, how long is my $12,000 on $2,000 a month costs going to last? Well, it's going to last 6 months. So, that gives me 6 months to basically either find new work or think of other ways to make money. Now, that can easily be done, but obviously, let's say, for example, you worked for a warehouse and 1,000 people have lost their jobs in that same huge warehouse. That's now 1,000 people looking for jobs all within that same area. So, again, not going to go into it too much, but that is my take on job security. A lot of jobs, especially entry level jobs, non qualification jobs, manual labor jobs, warehouse jobs, driving jobs, all that type of stuff do not offer the job security that people would want. It might come across like they do offer the job security if they put explanation marks at the end of all these, but when they're actually question marks, you kind of start to question the security. So let's now get rid of all this very quickly and let's actually compare this to what security could look like for someone who is a trader. So, what security is offered for a trader? So to start off with, the answer is none. There is no security offered before some certain things have to be done, okay? And those things that need to be done before any security can be offered, things need to be done. And those things are obviously, just move my mic out of the way, learn a strategy, backtest a strategy, data collect around the backtesting and strategy in general, build a solid trading plan, trade that trading plan consistently, take that onto live environments, funded accounts, etc., get payouts, save money, and through all that, you now have much more security than someone who is working a 9 to 5. Okay, so let me just fix up these very quickly. So what I'm trying to say here is that after you've put the hard work into trading, because as we all know, trading is not something you can just go into and start making money with. It requires a lot of hard work. You will end up having a lot more security than someone who's working just a 9 to 5. And you might start disagreeing with me here and thinking, well, trading's never guaranteed and a job is guaranteed because they're paying you that same amount of money every single month. They're paying you that $3,000 every single month. Well, how is it going to be guaranteed in a trading environment? Let's just say your costs remain exactly the same. So let's say your costs stay at $2,000 and you are now basically a nearing full-time trader. You have started to withdraw money out of your Ment Funding evaluation account, your Ment Funding funded account that you pass your evaluation for. And let's say, for example's sake, you are making, so let's put here, making 5% per month on average on a $100,000 Ment Funding account, which obviously comes to $5,000 per month on average. So you might be saying, well, right, 1 month, yeah, you can make $5,000, but how is that going to remain consistent? And is it going to remain consistent? Well, if you've put in all the hard work here, you are likely to live a much more secure life compared to someone who is working a 9 to 5 here. Let me repeat that. If you put all your hard work into all this and you do all the hard work here, you are more often than not likely to live a much happier, much more secure life, and much better life than someone who is in a 9 to 5 who thinks that their job is stable, etc., etc., etc. What you've also got to think about here is that a boss in a job can let you go anytime. I don't care what your contract says, a boss can let you go anytime. They can think of any reason under the sun to legally let you go out of your job, and immediately you lose all of your income. However, in trading, that's not really possible. There's always going to be markets to trade. We've got forex, we've got some prop firms, we've got futures, some prop firms, we've got stocks that might come into Ment Funding in the future. I cannot say right now. However, what I'm trying to say here is that you have a lot more security as a trader, and this is what people don't realize. And I tend to find that it's the 95% of people who are losing in the markets who think that the only secure thing in life is a 9 to 5 job, and that's not really it at all. So if you now for a second rewire your mind into believing and into thinking that the only way that you can have security is if you manage your own income and you build your own income rather than working for someone else, because I know a lot of you guys who are watching this video right now will think that trading does not offer financial stability and financial security, but a 9 to 5 job does. Flip that on its head and realize that a 9 to 5 job offer does not consistently and forever offer security. If you go to your boss tomorrow in work and say, is my job going to be around forever? Your boss is not going to be able to give you a solid answer because it doesn't work like that. But if you come to me or come to Anton or any of our funded traders or any trader who is consistent with any prop firm or personal funds, and you ask them, is your job secure? Is trading secure? Is trading going to be something that's going to be around forever? They will guarantee say yes. And that's because they put the hard work in, okay? And putting the hard work in doesn't mean, just spending a weekend on a course or data collecting for a weekend and thinking you've made it. Putting the hard work in is all about the consistency behind that as well. So consistently learning a strategy, consistently backtesting, consistently data collecting, consistently building a plan, consistently trading that plan consistently, taking that onto live environment, getting payout, saving money. Before you know it, you're making, $5,000 per month on average just on one account. Now, let's say you scale this $100,000 up to $200,000 once you reach the criteria to scale a Ment Funding account. That $5,000 per month is now $10,000 per month, and then it scales up again. And then suddenly it's $20,000 per month, and it scales up again, and then it's $40,000 per month, all the way up until $5 million for a principal balance account that we will scale you up to as long as you keep on meeting the criteria for the scaling. All our scaling criteria is available on our website. I will be doing a separate video on that shortly as well to deep dive into how our scaling strategies work and how you can build a huge $5 million Ment Funding account based on just scaling from any account size that we offer as a initial account size. So if you reach when you reach a $5 million Ment Funding account, 10% of that is what, 500K? So 5% of that is what, 250K. So you could be consistently making 250K per month. Obviously, as your income increases, your style of living will also increase, your costs will increase, but the principle is still there. Because you took the leap of faith and you trusted your trade plan and you trusted that security is offered more to the consistent traders and not someone who works a 9 to 5, because there is no job security long term in any 9 to 5 job, you will quickly realize that you can build a much better life for yourself just by following a process and working for yourself and building that life for yourself. And I don't want to drag this video on too long because it is a fairly cutthroat subject. It's like a fairly straightforward subject. It's not something that should be overthought, but it's something that I want everyone from today to rewire their minds into believing that 9 to 5 does not offer job security. If you a job is not secure, okay? Your supermarket job is not secure because they can replace you with self-service. Your Amazon driver job is not secure because they can replace you with electric vehicles and electric services eventually. Or for example, if someone, if you are a taxi driver, for example, and let's say, God forbid, you end up in an example and you end up in an accident as an example, and you can't drive your taxi anymore, that job is no longer secure. Okay, so all of that security disappears when you start thinking of it on a bit more of a deeper level. But as a trader, one payout of that $5,000 gives you almost 2x of what you were earning on a 9 to 5 job. Okay. And suddenly your savings over the course of a year, let's just do the math here actually really quickly before we end this video. So let's say now for a full-time trader who is earning around $5,000 per month, I'll add a little, if I can find it on my keyboard, there we go, a little circa symbol. So rent 1,000, let's just say all the costs are the same for the first few months. And let's say this trader is saving now $3,000 per month. So over a 12-month period, that basically means that the trader is saving $3,000 per month times by 12. That is $36,000 per month that the trader is saving. And now suddenly their $2,000 per month is now going to be enough for 18 months. So for the person who was working a 9 to 5, who is only able to save for, what was it, 6 months, I believe we said, for someone who is working as a full-time trader is now able to, in the same amount of time, save 18 months worth of a buffer or expenses, so to speak. And then once you start thinking of how many other prop firms there are on top of Ment Funding, obviously Ment Funding is the best one out there, as we all know. Once you start thinking of all the personal account that you can be building as well on the side, you quickly start realizing that even if you were to take a string of losses for a number of months in a trading environment where you are a full-time trader, your wins outweigh that anyway, over the course of a year, over the course of 2 years, over the course of 5 years. However, on a stable, consistent 9 to 5 secure job, that shit does not exist. This is not something that you can rely on forever. A job can disappear just like that if you don't work for yourself. Even if you own the company, there is always that risk there. However, in trading is never going to disappear. If currencies disappear, if the US dollar disappears and everything goes on to Bitcoin or something new crazy out there, we just trade that. The strategy is exactly the same. Here at MentFX anyway, the strategies are exactly the same. Our strategies work across any time frame, they work across any market, and they work across any chart. Any candlestick chart you show me, I can build a strategy, or I can use my strategy that I've already built on that to be profitable for myself. So what I'm saying here is if you've learned a strategy, if you've got that back test, if you've got the data around it, you can be so much more consistent and so much more secure compared to someone who's working a 9 to 5 job. And the way to start that today is by realizing that, start putting the work in, build a trade plan, start training that on a demo environment, get on a Ment Funding evaluation account or get on our Ment Funding competition accounts and get funded with Ment Funding. Get some payouts, realize that payouts from Ment Funding and other prop firms and your personal account are going to be much, much more consistent and much more reliable and much more secure than your 9 to 5 job or whatever job you're in right now. And that is what I need you guys to rewire your mind into thinking. The moment I rewired my mind into believing and into realizing that security is offered for a trader, but is not offered for someone working a 9 to 5, is the moment that I started putting so much more work into me becoming a full-time trader. And it's when I started seeing true results and true changes in my psychology and in my actual trading results as well. So just by you focusing on these small things and by you flipping these switches in your brain, you'll realize that you'll be so much more motivated to work towards something like this compared to being stuck on something like this. Okay, I know how easy it is to become complacent in what you know. And if you know a solid income of $3,000 per month and you're happy with that, I mean, you become complacent in that and you become happy and content with that, you're not going to want to strive for better. But if you start flicking that switch in your head and realizing that if you strive for better, you can do better. And if you start realizing that where you are now is probably not secure in the slightest, you'll start realizing that there is so much more out there for you. And this is the things that I started realizing, which is why I'm sharing those things today with you guys. Because if I can share my experiences with you guys, surely that's going to help you guys out a bit. And if that can help even just 1 or 2 people, that's all that matters for me. So let me know in the comments below if you feel comfortable sharing what type of income you're on right now compared to what type of income I've demonstrated on here and also demonstrated on here. And then also think of the Ment Funding scaling as well and how that can come in hand with that as well. Let me know what you think of all that and drop a comment down below. Drop a like on this video as well. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you know when I post next. There are going to be a few videos coming out over the next few weeks in terms of psychology. There is also going to be a bit of a killer video coming out in terms of the new Ment Funding scaling plan that we offer. And I'm also going to go through how a trader who has any type of current savings or any type of income can scale to $5 million over time, and how that's possible for anyone. You don't need a massive starting fund to start that off. Anyone can do it, and I'm going to go into how you can do that as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was something that is probably what a lot of people may deem as not that significant at first glance, but it's something that as soon as I flicked that switch in my brain and started realizing this, it's what made me put a lot more work into the trading side of things, and it's what made me become a lot more motivated to make trading work. So I hope that that has had the same effect on you guys as well, and I hope to catch you all in the next video, and I will see you soon.